Oh, here's the Spider-Man meme that has been slightly adjusted with the Patriot head on one Spider-Man and the Houston Astros asterisks on the other end. Hey, guys, I've tried to ignore this as much as I can, in large part because I don't care about baseball. My first reaction when it came up was, this is a shot across the bow at all pro sports as legalized gambling is spreading. If you have scandals like this, that's the quickest way to have Congress up your rear end and or a prosecutor looking for who he or she can put behind bars when this thing happens, because it's affecting the hard-earned money that millions of Americans will be wagering on sports. But beyond that, as more and more comes out about the Astros sign-stealing scandal that was going on for a year or longer, that involved possibly wearable technology that was as low-tech as it gets, a buzzer that allegedly was letting the batters know the location of the pitch, and Major League Baseball has said they found no evidence of it. I don't know how hard they looked for it. I mean, here's my big takeaway from this, and maybe this is one of the things that helps football. There are so many people who are constantly watching football games, scrutinizing everything they see, looking for cheating scandals thanks to everything that's happened over the last 15 years involving the Patriots and other teams, that I don't think anyone in football would get away with this, because the moment something came across the TV screen that looked remotely amiss, we would hear about it on Twitter. Reporters would follow up on it. There are so many people who are watching and listening and thinking about what's going on in football at any given moment. It never would have gone undetected for 2 years. Am I off base, Big Cat?
No, I don't think you're off base. I would agree that as football fans, I think when you watch games on Sunday and your team loses, the first thing you think of is, how did the refs screw us over? And the second thing you think of is, how did the other team cheat to win this game? So as football fans, we're probably wired to always have our guard up and wonder, hey, how are they doing something that is against the rules? The only thing I could think of, Mike, when I was sent, the rundown for today was Lester Hayes and Stickum being outlawed, and then guys using Stickum. Jerry Rice admitted to using Stickum past the time when it was outlawed. So that type of thing, but that was 30, 40 years ago, and it's tough to get away with things now. So it would have to be some kind of equipment thing, but it would be very tough for you. You're exactly right, for 2 years to pass without someone saying, hey, this looks odd. Why aren't we fixing this?
Well, yeah. Well, like I ask you guys, first of all, it's a bad look. And I mean, the first year they got caught cheating, it was banging on the trash can, right? Somebody was watching the video of the signals, and then if they banged on the trash can, they knew it was an off-speed pitch. Whether they wore this, thing on their chest or their shoulder that vibrated or sent, pulsing signals to tell you what pitch was coming. I don't know. You're right, Mike. That hasn't been proven yet. It's certainly a little suspect when you see guys like Altuve, who hits a game-winning homer against my New York Yankees, and it's like the happiest moment of the year, and he's holding his shirt saying, don't rip my jersey off, and like a really big moment. I don't think those are the things you think of in like the biggest moment of the year. So that's shady, let alone all the people that have been connected along with it. But what is comparable to it in the NFL to where you could say it, right? Like what is it? Like, would it be the opposing team be able to listen to the coach-quarterback conversation?
Yes, absolutely.
That would be the one. Yeah. Okay.
It's intercepting the coach-quarterback conversation and having a mechanism to communicate what you are gleaning immediately to 11 members of the defense.
Sure, right.
And I think that's why it's easier in baseball for something like this to happen.
Yeah.
Because you only need to let one guy know.
Right.
It's pitcher versus batter. You let the batter know what the pitch is going to be, you're set. I think it's much harder. And that was one of the knocks on the whole Spygate thing. Like, how in the hell did the Patriots have a system where they had in advance videotaped defensive coaching signals so they could crack the code in real time when they play that team later, so that they would know what the defense is going to be, and somehow they're processing all of that and factoring it into their play call and getting it to Tom Brady. I never did understand how they were able to do all those things in that limited window of time. But for baseball, it's a hell of a lot easier. You see the sign, you bang on the can, you pulse the thing if there is something that people were wearing to let them know the location of the pitch. And it's clean and it's simple. And it makes me wonder, Big Cat, how widespread it is. The big pushback against the bounty punishment against the Saints 8 years ago was, everybody is doing this. Why are you picking on one team?
Yeah, I was on a team
I can't
that
help
did it.
but wonder.
Yeah,
I can't help but wonder how deep this rabbit hole goes for baseball, and are they going to bother to try to go down it?
Well, I think there's also a cultural difference in the two sports in that baseball has a culture of cheating and, the steroid era, the greenie era, there's,
right.
Spitballs, everything that has happened. Baseball has always had that underlying, hey, if we're playing in the gray area, if we're doing things to try to get an advantage here, it's part of the game. It's just part of the game, the unwritten rules of baseball.
Yeah.
There's no really unwritten rules of football. It's played a little more straight up. So that also factors in here when you're talking about could this ever happen in the NFL? I don't think so. I think baseball, if you go through the history of baseball, it just jumps from one somewhat cheating scandal to the other. Every single 20 years, it seems like something pops up where it's like, all right, well, we got to fix this. I mean, baseball, think about this, guys. Baseball juices their own balls. Major League Baseball juice their balls. It's in the culture of the game that these things happen and that things are kind of funky sometimes and results make people say, hey, whoa, this is weird. I don't know what's going on. So it could never happen in football to this extent.
No, I don't think it could happen to football in this extent too. Though in football, I feel like you would cheat during a game to help yourself out maybe the next game, to understand calls or, we had our defensive tackle mic'd up and we heard all the calls the quarterback made at the line of scrimmage and what the center called. So now when they make that call, we know they're doing this in protection and our linebacker can maybe send the blitzers from the other side, whatever it may be. And I'm always a big fan of juice balls. There's no doubt about that. It was a fun year in baseball, all right? But the other thing is, you guys do agree this is hey, I'm all sign stealing, like Big Cat said. It's always been part of baseball, stealing signs. But we're all in agreement that this is this goes above and beyond, and this is not good for the game, right? I mean, this is going too far for baseball because I hear some people in the media trying to say this has always gone on and this is part of the sport, a little bit like what you were trying to reference there, Big Cat. And I want to go, no, it's 2020 and we have a lot of technology at our disposal. It's a little different now. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's the worst scandal for baseball since the Black Sox, to the extent that it tainted a full season, a World Series championship.
Yeah, maybe two of them.
And I think baseball is being very careful about how much they admit to. They need to acknowledge it. They need to do something about it, but they can't make it seem too big because it ultimately hurts baseball if it is too big. There are some who think they should strip that World Series championship. I think that makes it an even bigger deal. It's brought down careers. It's created a major problem. But I think baseball politically and from a PR standpoint and from we want people to still show up to our games standpoint, they're trying to walk a fine line there. So, look, why not? And let's think about this, because I say all the time as it relates to football, here we are 100 years after the creation of the NFL, and we still determine whether or not a team has gained a first down with 2 sticks and 10 yards of chain link in between them. Why isn't there a more technologically feasible way of communicating between pitcher and batter that doesn't involve a guy sneaking a couple of fingers down in his crotch to try to let only the pitcher see what the pitch is going to be, right? Why not have a radio from the bench? Why not do something that eliminates the possibility that signs can be stolen?
I like it, Mike. You're an innovator. I kind of wish that you were, this was pro baseball talk so that you could just have a field day with this scandal, because you would. The one last thing that I think baseball is doing very deliberately, and it's obvious that this is happening, is they're making sure this stays at a manager level. They're not letting any players kind of get implicated. I mean, players have been implicated, but they're not going to suspend players. It doesn't seem like right now. And that bothers me a little bit because it seems like a very player-driven scandal. Like, the players are asking for this. The players are benefiting from this, and the managers are the ones that are getting fired. It is a black eye on baseball here. I think they will maybe lose a couple casual fans like Mike Florio. Like, that's really what it is. Baseball, be careful. You might lose Mike Florio as a huge baseball fan.
That happened 28 years ago when the Braves beat the Pirates in Game 7, and somehow Sid Bream scored from second, and Barry Bonds didn't throw him out. That was the moment I walked away. But back to the original point. They need to be very concerned about this as legalized gambling spreads. Once we get to a critical mass of states, somewhere between 35 and 40, this is a big deal. Now, it didn't happen in 2017 because gambling wasn't legal. So anybody who lost their bets too bad. It's illegal gambling. Nobody's going to do anything about it. But if a scandal like this happens after you've got people who are plunking down money on the outcomes of these games, and we find out that the outcomes are being skewed by blatant cheating, a widespread cheating scandal that went on undetected for months, if not years, that's when Congress creates an agency that has oversight over all professional sports in the NCAA. That's when Congress and state legislatures pass laws that allow easy prosecutions for cheating in sports. That's when every sports league has a major problem on its hand, and its reality changes in a very dramatic and negative way, guys.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, listen, I'm a big baseball fan. I mean, the Yankees are my favorite team in all of professional sports. This bothers me. It does. As a baseball fan, it really does. And I really feel like I just kind of got over within the last few years of the whole steroid scandal. That really bothered me. Mike, you know, you've heard me speak out a lot of times about guys and PEDs in the NFL. It's cheating. It's against the law, for one. It's a horrible example to set for young kids. So that bothered me. Now we're going to do this. This is next level cheating. And Mike, I think your point, listen, you've had two great points. Sky Judge in the NFL ever since the Saints-Rams debacle in the championship game last year. And I'm with you. They need some manager to pitcher and catcher type of communication. Take these signals away. Start making these guys hit balls so they don't know what's coming anymore. It's a bunch of BS. It really bothers me, actually.
Well, it's hiding in plain sight. The solution is there. We'll see if they implement it, but they need to prevent this, and the other sports need to learn from it so they don't have similar issues in the future. But I think the NFL is safe because of past cheating and because there are so many people who are constantly looking for that alternative explanation for their team losing other than their team just isn't very good.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.